In Qatar, Mbappe's non-verbal gestural language is that of another footballer, other than what always intrigued us, but now it seems more confident. I want to know if our impression is correct. Do you see him improving? Do you see a player approaching one of his best moments, I imagine in the coming months, right, to reach that footballer's zenith?
Yes, I think so. I believe his adaptation period is over. Now he has shown a good version of himself. I think he can still improve, but in recent matches he has done well. He has now recovered well from the small injury he had. He is more motivated, more excited. He is happy to be here. So I think his period, which he obviously needed, because everyone needs it, has ended.
I ask you about the fight for the league. Today a very important match is being played, which is Barcelona against Atletico de Madrid. I imagine you will watch the match, and I don't know what you expect from this game. And I also ask if after Barca's decline and Atletico de Madrid's rise, you consider Atletico as a contender to fight for the league.
I believe it will be a much more competitive league than in recent years, when there were only Real Madrid and Barcelona. Now, I also think that Atletico will compete because they have all the resources to fight and try to win this competition. It will be a very entertaining league until the end. And because it's going to be a very competitive league, I think you can also win the league with less than 90 points this year.
As a bit of balance, because tomorrow is the last match, I wanted to ask you what your happiest moment has been this year and the saddest, and if any of the blows you joked about the other day, with the criticisms you've received in recent weeks, if there has been one that has especially bothered you.
Well, the happiest moment, there are many, because it has been a fantastic season, a fantastic year. Unforgettable, unrepeatable, I don't know. I believe it can be repeated. We are all capable of bringing out our best because the squad is of a very high level. For me, the European Cup, the Champions League title, is always the happiest moment. When you lift the European Cup title, the one that we lifted against Borussia Dortmund was the happiest indeed. About the saddest moment, I don't know. The truth is we haven't lost many matches this season, this year. It could be that the saddest of all was the defeat against Barcelona this year, right here at the Bernabeu. That was the one. Regarding the criticism this past year, well, I suppose that if I write to Santa Claus, I think unfortunately I cannot ask him not to bring or give me more criticism in 2025. I guess a gift, then they will arrive, as I said, are acceptable when you don't do things as you should. They are acceptable, normal, nothing new.
The other day, in the midst of the happiness in Qatar, after winning the Intercontinental, you said, unfortunately, we have a match on the 22nd. I wanted to ask you, why did you describe this match against Sevilla as unfortunate? And how does the team stay motivated after winning the dental tour with the break so close?
Unfortunately, because I didn't have vacation days after winning the Intercontinental Cup, and the vacation was perfect. Unfortunately, because we will play a match against a very competitive opponent, as I said. The new coach is doing a really good job. It's a match against them, and it will be hard for us. So it's a match of risk. We have to make one last effort. It was only for this reason that I said it.
I don't know if you have ever done the math, but in 2024, counting tomorrow's, there will be 57 matches. That means 114 press conferences. And with about 10 questions per press conference, Ancelotti will have answered around 1,150 questions this year. Is the footballer's schedule or the coach's more exhausting?
No, obviously the football players. For me, the press conference is a moment, as I said, sometimes entertaining also. I don't find the press conference difficult at all. I have a good time. I enjoy it too when there are, out of these 1,000 questions, 10% might be a bit unpleasant, that are hard to answer sometimes, but I think in the end, we all have had quite a good time. Otherwise, imagine 1,000 boring press questions. That would be pressure and stress. It is, but fortunately, they are not boring.
You are always a calm man who doesn't gesture much on the sideline, but in the last few games, I've noticed that you get really angry. When your players lose seemingly easy balls, which are avoidable losses, I do not know how it can be corrected. And at that moment, when you were a central midfielder with a good touch, what goes through your mind?
Well, this is indeed a topic that we are discussing with the players, which sometimes involves unnecessary loss, given the quality of the team. As the word says, unnecessary. Sometimes to attempt a play, we lose the ball when it's not needed. It's a topic we're addressing, where we need to improve because it can be improved. Sometimes we take risks in plays when we don't need to.
We have seen that Mendy trained, or that Mendy was training today. And what I want to ask, beyond this, is for you to give me an analysis of the performance of the fullbacks this season, and perhaps also a bit about the bad luck they've had with Carvajal's injury. On one hand this, and on the other, do you consider Lucas Vázquez and Valverde for the right-back position, or do you see any other option? Thank you.
Yes, he has fully recovered, yes, so he is available for tomorrow's match. I think that also. Oliva is starting partial training. I think he will train with the group on the return date, the 30th. I think he will be available around mid to play, I believe, mid-January. The fullbacks have done very well, considering that the two fullbacks who were theoretically the starters, Mendy and Carvajal. Carvajal had a very serious injury, and Mendy had some injuries that they have not allowed us to show their best level. The other two have held up very well. Lucas Vázquez and Frank Garcia, who have played many matches, sometimes well, sometimes a bit less, but they have contributed to the team. I think that Valverde, I don't think about putting him there when we are not in an emergency. I think we are training Raúl a little, who I think can do it as a fullback by characteristic, which obviously is not offensive player. He is more defensive kind of player, but in some matches he can be useful.
In the last 17 years, only 2 Brazilian players have been chosen as the best in the world, Kaká and Vinícius, both trained by you. What do you think you have given these 2 players to make them the best in the world? Thank you.
I think I have only shown and given both of them the confidence, and then they have. Well, I am not saying it is thanks to this or thanks to me, but obviously a player, to the player, not just the talented player. When you give them confidence, they are able to reach their best level. Obviously not, my work is not possible. It is impossible to give confidence in the same way to everyone, because confidence also means pushing them when they are not performing at their best. So it is very complicated, almost impossible, to give confidence to everyone. It is the only thing I have given him. Then one wins because he has the quality to win as the best in the world.
I would like to know what grade you give to the year. You said it has been a year and that it is not going to happen again in some way. And what do you want, or what would you like to achieve next year that you haven't achieved this one?
Well, what grade? A very high grade, outstanding, considering the number of difficulties we've had, because we have had many. We have been able to win 5 titles. It's something very, very good. Next year, the goal is very much the same. It is always the same: to compete, to fight, to compete, of course, and win the Champions League title again.
I wanted to ask you about the top 4 attackers in the team. What is your analysis of the evolution of their game among them and playing all together? Because they haven't played much together due to injuries during this season so far, but they seem to connect better. I wanted to know a bit to get your point of view. And in this regard, about Kylian, who is playing a bit like Benzema's style. And I also see positive development in him, that he is finding his role much better on the pitch. I think the same is happening also in the team. And you said he had to improve aspects. In what aspects does Kylian needs to improve for you?
Well, it's not that the 4 have played many matches together, because sometimes Rodrygo was injured. Sometimes Bellingham was injured. He has played very few matches. From what little I've seen, they combine well, they adapt well to the positions, to each other's characteristics. Sometimes Mbappé plays on the left, sometimes Rodrygo Vinícius on the inside, sometimes Bellingham a bit more on the left. I think that I'm not going to create a fixed position for each one of the 4 attackers, but rather give them quite a bit of freedom in this regard to find the correct position, especially to have mobility in these aspects, because mobility is a very important aspect of the offensive game, where Mbappé needs to improve only in consistency. He has to try to make plays that only he can do, and do those as often as possible in every match. The truth is that I don't ask him to be very involved in the game, because I think his best characteristic is getting free, attacking the line. So this is what we ask him, that what he wants to do is what he needs to do more often. So with all this, you need to have one player that when Mbappé breaks free, then he passes the ball to Mbappé. But we have them. We have the players who can pass the ball, yes. Well, thank you all. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of you.